Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners, it's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. Learn more and subscribe today at eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast. And now, here's your host, Frank LaRosa.
So now that we've wrapped up 2024 and our most watched podcast, I want to spend some time right now to talk about 5 trends that I see continuing to happen and expand in 2025. But I want to talk about, right now, we're heading into the end of the year, and so I'm going to talk about 5 trends that I see happening that people should be aware of. Some of them might be a little bit obvious, but I want to talk about why I think they're going to continue to be a trend. And one in particular.
And changes. What kind of changes do you see? Trends and changes.
Yeah, well, it's trends and changes, right? And so we do an analysis for our company. We call it strengths, weaknesses, and trends, right? Or SWOT analysis, right? Opportunities and threats, right? We call it trends. And so I'm going to start with one that I think is probably somewhat obvious, but I think it's going to pick up more and more. And that is a continuation of the consolidation. We've seen consolidation of broker-dealers. I think we're going to see a consolidation of RIAs. Over the last couple of years, there's been, I think in 2022, there was something like 11,000, just under 12,000 RIAs, and now there's just under 15,000 RIAs. And so it's going to continue to expand. I think that will continue to happen. But what I think is going to also happen is we're going to see more and more smaller RIAs begin to roll up into larger RIAs for the point that we were making before.
Yeah, what are the reasons?
Right, what are the reasons, right? What they're realizing is I'm not really making any more money and I'm not having fun anymore, because it's not fun getting an audit from the SEC when they sit in your office for 6 months. Right. That's not fun.
Or I'm terrible at just the operational side of the business.
Or I'd be, right.
And I hate it, the administrative stuff.
I loved going after money. I loved closing business. I loved working with my clients. I spend half my day or more on compliance and operations, and it's slowing the growth of my business down.
Right. I haven't gained a new client in a year.
So I see that as a major, I see that as a continuous trend. So if you're thinking about exploring the RIA space, understand where the puck is going and why, right? So if you're less than $1 billion in client assets, I would argue that going and setting up your own RIA is probably not the right solution. There's a better solution. I'm not saying that you don't eventually get there. What I'm saying is it doesn't have to be all or none. Like, it doesn't have to be right now.
Right, and some of it is a control thing versus just the smart business decision.
Right. So the other one, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. The other one is on the M&A side. Mm-hmm. So I don't look at this as sort of the RIA rolling up into the other RIA. I look at on the practice side, the individual practice side, where I think we're always going to have some consolidation with broker-dealers, the bigger firms buying and gobbling up the smaller firms, right? But what they're not doing is they're not satisfying, you're not taking care of the older population of financial advisors that continues to grow. And I think we're going to start seeing a bigger trend there and more individual practices being sold in the next couple of years, coming next year. Interest rates are going to come down, which means that money will be a little bit cheaper. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there's going to be a spike, a continuous spike, I should say, not a spike, but a continuous growth of that world. I see it with our business, right? With our M&A business, we see more and more sellers coming into contact with us, looking for an opportunity, and I mean, buyers are coming in. There's always plenty of buyers, but I'm really talking about the advisors that are looking to sell. I see that continuing to grow, and I was talking with somebody last week about valuations. I think valuations are still going to stay high. I could argue that valuations are actually going to go up again. Someone was telling me about that. I was talking to which is the third one. I was talking to a new player on the street. Let's just say certainly won't use their name. They want to fly under the radar right now, but it's another new player that's coming into the space with more money, right? Which is going to be a trend that we're going to see. There's the merchants and the Mercers and all these firms that are buying up, they're acquirers and PE firms coming in and buying minority shares. I think that's going to be a bigger trend. We're going to see more new players come into the fold next year because a lot of family offices and private money is just waking up to this opportunity.
And we're seeing firms not necessarily that are still in the financial services business.
They're not in the financial services business.
We're seeing fintech firms and insurance companies. I mean, that's sort of in the business, but
I think there's going to be look what's going on with the NFL, right? All of a sudden, the NFL is allowing these PE firms and these groups to come in to buy a percentage. I think the Eagles just did that, right, with Lurie, right? And so I think we're going to see this trend of what I call outside money. To me, outside money is from some other industry that isn't related to financial services, right? And so I think it's going to continue. I know that because I just talked to someone yesterday. That's they're not outside money, but they're new money to the business, and they're trying. The models haven't really changed. They're coming in, they're buying a minority share, they're giving you tag along rights. None of that stuff's changed. It's not a new story. It's just more money, and all that's going to mean is there's going to be more competition for advisor assets. And with more competition,
it'll drive the valuation.
It's going to drive valuations up. So congratulations if you're a financial advisor and you have a practice that you're going to be willing to sell, you're going to get paid more money.
Yeah.
The fourth one, and these last two are a little bit controversial, and it sort of actually has to do with the PE conversation, and that is I see some of these independent broker dealers getting a little bit tighter with their purse strings when it comes to helping large enterprises and OSJs recruit advisors to their practices, to which they go sell to private equity firms, right? The reason I say that is because I think there are going to be some firms, I'm not going to name firms, but there are firms already doing this, where they are no longer going to support the OSJ or the large enterprise, whatever you want to call it, with the firm's money
to grow their entity,
to grow the entity, to recruit people. So what they're saying is, you can use some of our money. We're going to give you a loan that you're going to take down because we make less money when that advisor goes underneath you at 98%. I'm just making up a number, 97%. Versus if we take that advisor and we bring him directly to our firm and we pay that advisor 90%, right?
Better margin.
It's a better margin. And so what they've realized and what they're waking up to now is, wait a minute. So these OSJs, large enterprise producer groups, whatever you want to call it, they are growing their businesses with our money, and then they're going to sell that business to a private equity firm, right? Which isn't, if the money is still at the firm, no big deal. The problem is, what the private equity firm then wants you to do is take those dollars, and I'll say a name just for, I'll say just for an example only, okay? LPL. So you're an LPL OSJ, you sell your practice 20% to a private equity firm, and then a year later, they start putting their hand on your shoulder to move those assets over to Schwab because they're going to make more money that way, right? And candidly, that's not really fair to LPL because you use their money to recruit the advisor, and they build their models.
Right, so in fairness, right.
They build their performance models on the deals based on those assets staying at the firm. And then a year later or 2 years later, those assets disappear and go to Schwab. It costs them money.
Yeah, it's disloyal.
Right.
In a
so
sense.
I think that we're going to see a bigger trend there. And so if you're a large OSJ and you're thinking about moving firms, and one of the reasons why you want to move firms is because the firm is going to help you grow your practice. You need to understand. You need to go in with eyes wide open. That's number 4. Number 5, and this is going to be a little bit of a different one. I think we're going to see a trend of independent advisors and/or guys that own RIAs going back to the W-2 world.
It's already
Wirehouse-ish. I'm going to say wirehouse. I don't mean wirehouse like necessarily Morgan Merrill Wells. I mean they're going to go back to a W-2 channel,
Yeah, I mean, we're already.
You just had it happen, didn't you?
It just happened, and with all due respect to both parties, it was definitely a money situation. The advisor didn't want to run the business anymore. He was transitioning his life to a different part of the country, and just said, "Forget it. I don't want to have to worry. I feel like I'm on an island. I want to be back in the good old-fashioned branch model where I'm having, coffee talk and water cooler conversations." He was missing that. And so this particular advisor, kudos to you, took a large check back in a branch, has camaraderie with other advisors, idea sharing, and he's happy as a clam.
Yeah, listen, it's not going to be the younger advisors. It's going to be the advisors on the older side, right, where they're going to get a big check up front. That's going to make up a lot of the difference.
Yep.
And so if they get a lower payout, if they only have 10 years left or 7 years left in the business, the amount of money that they're going to get paid up front is more than enough to make up the difference in loss of payout, right? But the reality is it's the other stuff too.
Yeah, it was a 3.5x upfront transition compensation.
That's a lot of money to get paid up
major.
front. And so, and then it's about not doing any of this stuff anymore, not managing. I don't want to manage staff anymore. I don't want to do all the things that I used to enjoy doing, right? That are, so I think that if you're an independent broker dealer out there, I think you need to be really careful. Look, I guess candidly, it's why some firms like LPL and some others have a W-2 channel, right? Because we see it, but I actually see it more of going to be a trend. We had an advisor decide they were independent, and they went to Ameriprise, their W-2 employee channel.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be a trend. I think that accomplishes for the older advisor, it accomplishes something for them that people don't want to realize when they're in the M&A space, and that is not every advisor wants to sell and get out of the business in their 60s or late 60s, sometimes early 70s. They love what they do.
They love their clients.
They love their clients.
Right.
And they've done the dance, the M&A dance, a bunch of times. They can never pull the trigger because the truth of the matter is they don't want to retire. And one of the ways that they can accomplish the sort of like taking chips off the table.
Yeah, and gain their lifestyle back.
Right. Is take a check from a firm. Yes, it's a loan. Is it not a loan? We can go through that until they're blue in the face. But they're getting $2.5 million, $3 million up front. They still have their business. And then at the firm that they're at, they can then do a succession plan. Yes, and it might be a little bit less. And yes, it's going to be taxed at ordinary income. We can debate that till we're blue in the face also. But the fact of the matter is, if you aren't acknowledging the emotional side of why advisors are doing this, you're going to be left in the dust if you're an independent broker dealer.
And I think it's really critical to know that we're not here to make that decision for the advisor.
Yeah.
We're here to provide that, look, here are the two options. You can monetize and sell the business as an independent business owner, or you can monetize and go back into the traditional retail branch world, and you can actually accomplish a lot of things doing either one.
Right.
We're not here to say this is the only way to do it. Just about providing options.
What are you trying to get accomplished?
Right.
And why? And we'll help you. And so I think that's probably going to be the most controversial, but I believe it to be the case. We call that swimming upstream. I call it swimming upstream.
Well, we always used to say once an advisor becomes independent, they're never going back the other way, but quite the contrary.
Not anymore.
Not our decision. It's what our advisor clients are telling us they want to explore.
Right.
And so we've started doing it.
Because it's about a totality of what your lifestyle wants to be about, right? And
that's right.
Sometimes just having the money in the bank, having a manager in the corner office that you can complain to, or your assistant quit and you don't want to have to go do anything about it. You come in on Monday and there's a new assistant there. That's worth something to some advisors. And so again, it's not for us to decide. It's for us to help our advisors and empower our advisors to make the right choice, not just the next one. And if that means that we're going to take someone from their own independent practice and then we're going to help them move to a wirehouse firm like a Raymond James or Ameriprise or whatever firm it is, then so be it, as long as that's what the advisor is looking for and we're trying to make them happy. So anyway, that was a lot.
Great chat.
That was like a fire drill. just over an hour long.
You need to go for a really long walk with your dog to listen to this one.
That was the long one, or just pet my cats for a long time.
Or you can walk, put your cats in a stroller or
they
something
walk.
like
We
that.
put our cats in a stroller.
I know you
If you
do.
follow me on Instagram, which you should, you would have known that. So anyway, that was awesome. We had a great year.
Yeah.
Another banner year for our firm. And for a whole host of reasons. And so we're super excited. Thank everybody for listening to us. Thanks everybody for the ideas and the kind
feedback,
words and the
right.
feedback that we get. It's really tremendous. It really helps us formulate the types of things that we talk about on a weekly basis. We do this for the advisor community so that we can empower you with knowledge. Whether you're a financial advisor, whether you own an RIA, whether you're a leader at an independent broker-dealer, we hope that this information helps you in some form or fashion, right? If you're thinking about making a move and you want to talk to us, we would honor that opportunity. You can give Stacey a call at
856-816-6322 or Stacey at eliteconsultingpartners.com. Don't forget the E.
And you can call me at 856-316-4651. You can always shoot me an email at frank@eliteconsultingpartners.com. Do not forget to follow me on Instagram, which is franklarosa.elite. We're doing some cool things there. We started a subscription program where we're going to get some sort of behind-the-scenes stuff and maybe some more, just some private coaching stuff we got going on. We got a lot of great things going on next year. I'm super, super excited. And I think that we're going to ramp up a lot of the interesting guests that we have on our podcast. So you got to stay tuned. Share this with everybody. If you have friends that aren't listening to this, they should be listening to it. So make sure they share it, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics in the financial services industry, or you just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcasts.